Here we are. Yay. Aloha and welcome to Wisdom Dialogues with Hope Johnson, coming to you from Hawaiian Paradise Park on the beautiful big island of Hawaii. Yay. Yay, everyone. So you know that idea that we get that something has gone wrong, that's always a blessing. And it's because of what it's for. It's not because, it's a blessing. It's not like, it's not a blessing that you lost whatever you think you lost or whatever like that. That's not anything, but it's only because of what it's for that makes it a blessing. In that way, even if you seem to not like something, you can still be grateful for it, because your gratitude in that moment is what's going to allow you to learn something, right? And really, what are we really learning? Or, you could say we're learning what love is, because, we tried to blot that out. And this, what we perceive, is a manifestation of thinking that we did blot it out. And it's kind of like the mind is split. Well, it can't really be split, but that's why I say it's kind of like it has been split. We're perceiving now in separation as a result of thinking that it's possible to be separate. We're perceiving as if there's evil in the world, but there's nothing other than an ego that we made. And, that's really nothing, because we made it up to oppose love, to keep this world in our view so we don't know what's going on. And, there's different ways we tend to take that. And one of them is that there's nothing beyond this world. And, telling ourselves that there's nothing beyond this world. Sometimes it gets really fancy, and people make up different variations of this world. It's like traveling to different galaxies, different levels, different dimensions. It's still all the ego's world, though, because it's set up in separation, and having intentionally forgotten about love. All we can do is perceive in separation. We are just perceiving in separation. But, we can't be affected by any lack of love that we perceive, because nothing's been changed about who we are. So it's like any lack of love that we might perceive in the world. Let's say someone comes in there, I don't know, maybe they hit you on the head with a hammer or something like that. Wow. Saw it in a movie last night. Well, I didn't see the live action. It was a court case after the fact. But of course, you can't really dispute that these bodies can seemingly affect each other, especially when you have these minds that are really delusional. It's like this delusion is running around, kind of like running around these bodies that seem to be doing violent things and stuff like that. And now, I'm not saying that they can't seemingly affect your body. I'm not saying that they can't seemingly affect your body. Seemingly, yes, everything is affecting everything, right? But they can't affect you, who are beyond a body. And, anything that you get a perception of, whatever, if it's even if it's, I'd like to do extreme examples, because I know most people don't have this kind of extremity, but we're making our own perceived problem super extreme. So say people are involved in car accidents all the time, apparently, and then blaming whoever they think is at fault, right? Like you take something like that, you could use that as an opportunity. Whatever it seems like they did, even I'm talking even drunk driver, right? That's a big one. We've been taught to really project blame, or driving and texting. That's another one, right? And taught to really project blame about those things. Every time we're projecting though blame, we're hurting ourselves. We're actually hurting our own mind. And thank you for listening, Leah. I'm going to silence my notifications now. I love you. Oh, yeah, it's interesting because it seems like it protects us to be able to say, oh, that's bad. That shouldn't be happening. That's a guilty thing, because it seems to keep us safe from that thing. But it's always just the opposite. And where there's willingness to see that we are making it, then there's no real problem for us. There's no real problem, because whatever occurs as a body sense, the main thing that we're like afraid of as a body sense is pain. Don't give me any pain, especially don't give me any extreme pain, but even the pain itself, that's something that you will see through. You'll actually see through even the pain itself, because that's just an interpretation and a reaction. So you could say, I know the Buddha said life is suffering. You could say life is pain. In this, it's not really life though. It's a semblance. It's like I've heard it called the parody of your life in eternity. It's a guilty parody. So when pain arises, and whenever you're perceiving a body, there's a really, really, really good possibility that more pain is going to be arising at some point, because we've been trained to make that interpretation. There's not actually pain in the world. We've been trained to interpret it that way. And as we keep interpreting it that way and being committed to that kind of interpretation, then we keep on spurring it on. And I mean, you could use anything, a hangnail, right? You can use a hangnail. You notice some pain from something. And just like for me, I'll just notice, okay, there's a sensation of pain, and I'll let it kind of like smooth out. If you put your attention on it, you could see it like smooths out. And, a lot of them, I just forget about them. That's really the best. Don't even have a need to go back to it and revisit it and like, is there some pain over here? Because if you're looking for it, you're definitely going to find it. That's how that is. Yay. Aloha, Natalie. Thank you for joining. Oh, yay. Constance. Aloha, Brooke. Thank you for joining. Comedy and tragedy. It's all for play. Yes, exactly. And, comedy is more along the lines of what's worthy of you. Okay. Because it's laughter. And it's all these things that pop up. It's kind of like inviting you to laugh about them. You know how comedians are always making comedies about stuff. They're doing stand-up comedies about stuff that seem to be tragedies, right? All the different tragedies. Soon the Maui fires will be, ripe for something like that, if not already, right? But we tend to get this seriousness about our suffering, right? And the thing about seriousness and suffering, those two go together. So the seriousness spurs on the suffering. And I know it can seem really impractical to express this this joy, this laughter around people who might be seemingly suffering. I know that's I know that can be a challenge, because you could be looked at as like a gaslighter. I don't know, whatever words they're using to describe a person like these. It's always changing, I know that's challenging. And, for me, I'll just let myself feel it and let the expression just be whatever it is. I'm usually always smiling. So when someone comes up to me and maybe they say, hey, someone in my family just died. Oh, it's terrible. Something like that. I'm just allowing myself to go to a sense of calmness because there is no death. And the more I'm able to see that, the more I'm able to share it. But really, I have to see it for myself, because just saying it and then being defensive, that's common for people who are learning this stuff. It's like they're saying it and then being defensive because the other person seems to be suffering. And, you know, part of that wanting to free people from suffering gets hijacked by the ego. And then it makes even more of a sense of separation, because there's this sense of being threatened because someone's threatening your belief, right? If someone's threatening your belief that these bodies aren't real, it's just like at a belief stage. It's you who needs to see that, because the more you see that, the more you're able to relate with everyone, even if they come into your experience seemingly suffering. You know, what I'll just go to is a willingness to see that there is no suffering for myself. That's how it gets extended. It's not to try to make the other person to see it that way, right? All of the things are a blessing, but people don't always want to know that. Yay, Lori. Pain is either remembered or anticipated in the dream time. Yay. Yeah, it's like anything that's pain, suffering. There's, you know, pain is just different kinds of pain. The emotional pain, a lot of people call that suffering. The physical pain, you know, of course, that's also considered suffering. It's all an interpretation. So even if you seem to have, let's say you seem to have a cut or something like that, or you got hit by that person with a hammer, and 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 you're perceiving pain. So that pain that you're perceiving, even though you seem to have a reason by it, there's a person, there's a hammer, there's a bruise, there's all this different stuff. Through your willingness to see it as it is, okay, this is really just remembered or anticipated, even though I'm getting the perception that there's a real cause for it right now. See? So it's kind of like, you know, one way I really like it, it's really gentle, is just like a nod to God, right? You're just giving a nod to God in that. You're willing to see it different than what you've been trained to see, how you've been trained to see it. It's all conditioning. Even pain, we're conditioned to apparently feel pain. And remember, we talked about before how, you know, the one who seems to feel pain is actually projected into the field to do that and report back to you what that's like. And that's really what you're getting. But you're identifying with the image that you put into the field. And that's what makes the perception of pain into suffering. See, if there's just a perception of pain and it's just really clean because you know that it's a perception that you're projecting into the field, you're not even capable of feeling pain, but you're getting a sense. It's just way, way lighter and simpler and easy to see. Okay. You get a lot of insight that way. Now, as we go through the life, we're getting more and more opportunities to kind of like clean the glass. Every time one of these things comes up, and you know, this is all day long, really. This is all day long. Things are always popping up. You know, I was driving across the island the other day, and I was driving down from the saddle toward Waimea. Is it Waimea? No, not toward Waimea. Down from the saddle toward Waikoloa Village. It's kind of like up high. And there's a lot of farmland there. I don't know if it's farmland, it's just empty land. Okay. I've seen a lot of rams out there. Now, since the last time I've been, which is probably like 3 or 4 months ago, someone went in there and set up solar panels. The government must have, huge, all over the place. And, you know, I'm driving, I'm like, damn, that's ugly. Why the heck did anyone have to put that shit here in the middle of, you know, where the rams are and everything? And I noticed that arising, like the reaction to those solar panels. Apparently, according to the way I'm conditioned, that's ugly as fuck in the middle of the desert, wherever we are. In the middle of yeah, it's pretty deserty over there. uh, and you know you're used to going over there, and it's like an expanse view. And So I just use that in the moment. I just use that sense, right? And then I forget about it. And then I'm coming back the other way. And there it is. It pops up again. I'm like, oh, there's that one again. Right. Because, for me, and what was really going through my mind at that time is, and kind of like all the way on the ride over there, is that this world is not here. It's not actually here. There's not the perception that we're getting is totally fabricated. And it's only perpetuated off of these things going, oh my God. So, and it's not to try to stop your reacting. It's to notice that it is reacting. It is reacting. That's what it is. That's what it does. That's what it's trained to do. It's trained to react. For me, it's just a matter of seeing that doesn't affect me. The reacting, look, because the image that I projected into the field is reacting and reporting back to me. I'm not reacting, not from where I sit. I'm viewing reacting. So there again, this thing cannot touch me or harm me, even the reacting. It's my sight of it that allows this evolution to take place, because I'm allowing this learning to occur. And what's really learning too is also the projected image. The projected image is what's like the block right in between your sight of reality is this block, this image with its world. Okay, so nothing that occurs in this image or in this world ever affects me, even reacting. I just get the sense that I'm reacting. It's interesting. We don't react. We get a sense of something reacting, and then we see it in a way as if it's ourselves reacting. And see, that'll carry it over to, okay, and then making yourself guilty for reacting. It's like there's this spiritual director in your mind going, okay, that was wrong. Don't act like that. And it's really just a matter of seeing. It's not really a matter of you trying to change yourself. In fact, whenever we try to be in charge of what we're going to learn and how we're going to learn it, we go backwards. Right. I mean, and what I mean by that, by going backwards, it's just like we forget even more because we get tangled up and caught up with this idea of we're doing something here. See, with no one ever doing anything here, with us just viewing a world here, there's really not very much to think about even. And I know it's a trip, because when I'll go on a drive, it's like an hour and 45 minutes. Was like an hour and 45-minute drive. I don't do this very often, so it's kind of unique to me. And I just, the whole time, just bring my mind back and back and back, and don't allow it to entertain thoughts. It's like uninteresting, because they're uninteresting. And then noticing, bringing the attention back into the moment, there's like something that still wants to grip to the thought. This is the patterning. This is the conditioning. People might say that's boring. You go on a car ride and you're just like not interested in thinking about anything. Right. And what does that mean? The thoughts are still arising, right? They're still arising, but I'm not pursuing them. So there's coming back again and again and again. Right. And there is a sense that, oh my God, this is boring. Right. But it's actually not, when you get past that gripping where it wants to, this temptation to pursue thinking, and you notice how you feel in the presence. You notice how you feel in the presence, and then you just want to be there. You want to keep on returning. If you were talking about last week, arriving in the moment. Okay, so I have a question here from Lay. What a cute name you have, Lay. Okay, let's see. Yay. So here's a question. I am interested in how we consciously release our energy from the perception of form. Release our energy. So it's basically just what I'm just talking about right now. So your energy being, whoa, projecting like that is tying it to the form. So look, it's every thought about the world. That's why I get so much downloads all day too. Like that's the secret to getting downloads all the time and hearing from the Holy Spirit is not allowing these thoughts to hook you constantly over and over and over again. And here's the thing, the only time you're going to withdraw this energy from the perception is right now. So it's not a matter of how you've been doing it. The only time you're gonna do that is right now. And if you're just starting out with something like this, and you might feel like you're just starting out, even though you've been practicing stuff for like 20 years or something like that. I know the mind's really loud, it's chattery. Okay. Just look at it as I'm just starting out again and again. Just look at it like that. Just see if you're willing to pull your mind back. And basically, you're just coming back from one of these extrapolations where it just goes off about narrating your life in this meaningless world. So it's like, oh, can I have some relaxation? Can I have some relief from that constant chatter about nothing? Just nothing. It's like, and it's interesting because it's like there'll just be all this chatter, and it's like, what's the use? What's the actual use of it? I mean, unless it's funny. Is there some kind of utility to it? Just watch this. Is there some kind of utility to it? Or are you just flapping your fucking gums because you're uncomfortable? This is very common. It's a very common thing. People get together and they think, oh, we got to be talking. Right. We can't just have like some silent air here. You can't just have any peace and quiet. It's like, no wonder there's anxiety going around. People, you got to fucking perform, right? If it gets too quiet, you got to just like it's like so much of it is so nothing. And you're gonna have also just like taking a break, like something comes to your mind and it's like, is that helpful? Is it funny? Is it entertaining in some way? Or do I just need to say it because it comes to my mind? I was at the farmer's market one time and this guy goes, oh my God, Hope, I've just been watching you. And you have wanted to say something like 4 or 5 times. And I just saw you just like not say it. I'm like, thanks for watching me. That's fun. It's like, it's like this desire to relate. A lot of times it has this, just, okay, what can I say? And I'll notice that too. I'll notice it come up in me. And I'll just really feel like, oh, not necessary. I don't just say everything that pops in my mind. Unless I'm listening to the Holy Spirit, that's a thing. But shit, most of the things that we're just like blabbing on about are nothing. Meaningless shit. Sometimes I think I need to be thinking about the world problems because otherwise people think I'm selfish. Amanda, you're so cute. And that I'm a very bad person. Oh, you know what? That's awesome. Who does not care? I know. That's me too. I get that too. I think it's pretty fun though. I know it's silly, but I play into it and pretend to be concerned. Yeah. See, here's the thing. And this is why you could be, you could, be like kind of leading yourself toward depression in this way, because now you're trying to please people with your inauthentic concern, right? Concern is the same as fear. That's not something that we can extend, and it's not something that we can join in, right? So noticing how this is like one way of people pleasing, to act a certain way like they expect you to act. This is one way of just people pleasing. So in noticing that, and yeah, she's laughing and she said it's ridiculous and it's like a bad person, yeah, right, and all that, and it's silly, but I play into it and pretend to be concerned or angry when really I know it's all fine. It's so strange. So you're just afraid of their reaction. You're just afraid of that reaction. And that's one of the defense mechanisms that you set up. That's why I'm always reminding you that these people that seem to see you that way are defensive mechanisms that you set up. They're playing them out for you. This is a defensive mechanism so that you don't be authentic, right? So, I notice it come out in different ways for me. I don't tend to be that offensive, it seems, lately anyways, when I'm talking with people. In fact, one of the guys from Maui called me. I don't know if you saw my newsletter for Miracle Botanicals, but I talked about Maui in there a couple of times. And one guy from Maui called me and he was just so grateful. And I don't know, it's like it was me writing, the way I do, and basically letting people know that their concern and their concern, worry, whatever for the Maui residents doesn't help them. And what really does help them, like how you really can help them. And it was interesting because after I sent that newsletter, like an hour later, all of a sudden I had this sense of guilt, like a major sense of guilt. Like people were going to look at that as being just what you're saying, Amanda, insensitive. Okay. Insensitive, unconcerned, that kind of stuff. But no, that wasn't the case. And I have been working through that energy for a long time. Okay. So when I first started out, it was a lot more like that. I still get that from time to time. I tend to see it from people who were trying to possess my energy and they couldn't. So then all of a sudden I become a narcissist. That's very common, still that's infrequent. Whereas before it was a lot more frequent. You know what? I just let myself be like I am. And I quiet down as soon as a person gets offended. I just say, okay. And, don't try to convince them. Don't try to convince them that I'm actually a good person. Don't try to convince them that I'm actually their savior. Just be quiet. And you know what? The other thing is, let them have their perception. It's really good for them. It's really good for them to have whatever perception they seem to have of you. You don't have to try to change that. So, just allowing over the years and watching and allowing and watching and allowing. And, it seems to have kind of taken me a long time, but I know that because of me going through it as much as I have, there's still more. That's why you perceive a body seemingly here. I've gone through it as much as I have. It makes it that much quicker and easier, for those who come afterwards to it, so that's really refreshing. And I do see people going through these transformations very quickly. Like when they're eager and they want to go through it quickly, they will. And it's really going through it quicker is all a matter of how much more you will relax about what you think you're seeing. because there isn't anything there. All right, so back to lay here. All right, we've got releasing our energy from the perception of form. So there's the perception of form, and then there's the energy of awareness. You can say it's the energy of awareness through consciousness attaching yourself to that form. So it's like, how do we get released from the form? We recognize, offer willingness to recognize that the form is not who we are, that the form doesn't touch us, even our own seeming manifestations. I know the yogis say it is through years of intense meditation, but that does not feel like the only way to me. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this and more depth than a Facebook post could go into. Nice. Okay. So let me know if you have any questions based on what I just shared with you, because really it's all the same. It needs to be generalized, as anything that comes up seemingly to be about you is not about you. Seeming to be about other people is not about you either. And it's not about them. Nothing touches the love that we are. And then we learn more and more that way. Gonna release it. Let go of this fear. It's not worth it anymore. Wow. Thank you. Good job, Amanda. That's really awesome. And you might get people getting pissed, and just remind them that you only love them. Remind them of their innocence. Remind them that you love them. And anytime a person gets pissed at you, that's an opportunity for you to learn, which you can't be learning while you're moving mentally in a direction toward inauthenticity, which is people pleasing. Okay, look at this. Someone goes, oh, my mom just died. Oh God, I'm so sorry. Right? But you're not really sorry. Most people aren't. You know what they're thinking they're sorry about? They would hate it if someone close to them died. Right? It's always some kind of a identification, a personal identification that can even get you to like have any concern or anything like that. Okay. As a projected form, you're totally selfish. You do everything for selfishness. It's like through the ego's way. That's how it is. And that's, we're just conditioned to say these things like, oh gosh, I'm so sorry, and I've found myself myself saying, oh, are you guys communicating still? And then they'll kind of like be surprised, because I'm smiling and I'm going, oh, are you guys are communicating still? And often it's like, yes, we are. Oh, that's awesome. They've never gone anywhere, have they? Right? And sometimes there will be an opening to go a little deeper than that. Right? Sometimes people just need a smile. Sometimes people don't need to hear shit. So if you're listening to your inner guide, you're always going to know. You're always going to know. You can't know what people need from the ego's perspective. You can't know what people need. But if you're listening, right, and you just speak what you're told, it's perfect, even if they seem to get pissed at you. Because if you're speaking what you're told, even that is leading to all of your lessons too. See, when you're leaning on worldly understanding and how you should act, what you should say, when you're leaning on those kinds of things, it leads you to depression. It leads you to upset. You don't want that, and you don't need that. It's tiring. Another funny thing, thanks, Constance. Another funny thing people seem to say or expect is miss you but I know nothing is ever missing. I know my mom just told me that like 2 days ago. I miss you. And I'm like, oh, well, I'm coming to see you maybe in like 6 months. Just like, you know, it's like, yeah, there's this expectation for I miss you. And then there's also, you know, when you got your eye on that, a lot of the times the ego wants to hijack that and say they shouldn't be saying they miss you, but they're fine. They can say they miss me all the time. It's fine with me. I'm not going to be saying I miss you back because that's just not in my vocabulary to say I miss you, because it doesn't make sense to me. But it's fine with me. I understand where it comes from. When someone says they miss me, I know they're saying they love me, and it's like, I love you too. See, so you don't have to. And you know, I'm the same way with like with jobs. You know, it occurred to me because now apparently I'm getting a job. I was just interviewing a real estate company in Hilo today, right before this. And you know, it's interesting because there's this conditioning about a way that you're supposed to be, and I'm just going to be how I am. And you know, it's like the whole thing about having to conform to be in a job or something like that. I just don't go for anything like that. Like I'm not going to go for a job like that, or I have to conform. I'm not even going to show up in a mask. Like, no, I'm not even going to show up in an unmask. Let's put it that way. In case you guys don't know, unmasked.com. I heard the masks are coming back. So those of you who think that you have to, you're saying no. Those of you who think that you have to wear one, there's definitely some pressure people are going through right now, as far as, you know, them coming back at Kaiser. And I have some friends that are going, oh shoot, you know, they were so happy when they got to take it off. How long they had it off? Like 6 months or something like that. They're just so happy. They're like, oh, thank goodness. Oh, it's so much nicer to go to work now. I can breathe. And now it's like they're back on again. So for those of you who find yourself in that situation, there is something called unmasked.com. They look really good. I've been on airplanes with them. So yeah, you could check that out. But it's like, for me, I've been like, for the past, I don't know, so couple of years, like I'm not even wearing one of those unless I really need to. Unless I really need to, and groceries don't count. Because I can go places to buy something else where they're not gonna enforce that kind of rule, right? For me, groceries don't count. It's fine if that's you know. For me, it doesn't count. I'm not doing the symbolism, right? I'm not doing that symbolism like I'm hiding my face or I'm emulating a sick person. or I'm just trying to demonstrate that disease is contagious. So funny. Jennifer said you will be an amazing realtor because you speak truth. People will trust you. Well, I mean, I'm just there for the people. That's the thing. I'm here for the people. You know, I have one friend who was asking me to sell some supplements. She's like, Hope, you don't know, you'll make so much money doing this. You'll love it. I've been making all this money, all these thousands of dollars she's been making. And I'm like, okay, well, I'll check it out. So I ordered 3 things. And then I was like, nope, it doesn't appeal to me to sell that. I guess I hear all the stories, lots of people around Puna making money off of this stuff. I know it seems to be up my alley, which is, for job wise, is to make a large amount of money in a small amount of time. So I like that about it, but it's like not something that I would eat, right? Not something that I would be interested in eating. It's like not something that I would be interested in selling either, right? So my son's just like shaking his head. He's like, God, Mom. He's like, you could be making so much money doing that. Oh, thank you. That'd be lovely. It's like you don't realize you could be making so much money. I know some other moms that are just making so much money selling that exact kind of thank you, Jason. And I'm like, yeah, it's just not for me, you know? So he's kind of like, gosh, my mom's crazy. She just doesn't take these opportunities to make some money when she can't. He's known other moms that have done this kind of thing and just like make a bunch of money. And then, so then I was going to interview this real estate company in Hilo, and my son goes, well, isn't that just the same as like you're selling someone something? You want a person to buy a home, don't you? And I go, no, it's not the same, because they already want to buy a home and you're just showing them homes until they find one that they like, or else they're selling a home and you're helping them get the best price. It's a lot different. You're not going, this is your home, this is the one you want, this is the best home, buy this home, it's the best one. No, it's not like that. It's like, hey, let's go check out some homes. Let's check them out. And then my job in that is really to show my clients like everything they need to see. Disclosure's huge, disclosing things that people might not know, and that's a big part of the training. I get trained to look out for stuff in the house and go, oh, that might be a sign of this, it's probably a good idea to get this kind of inspection or something like that. And then just things that I might know, like if the taxes in this area are going to go up or something like that, just like helping people out. And that's really, that's the gist of it, is just like helping each other out, right? It's like taking the attention off of, sure, in real estate, you can make a shitload of money, which is definitely an aspect of what I'm looking for in getting a job. What makes it really interesting to me, though, there's lots of things you can do for money. You could probably go flash the bead on Patreon or something like that. But what really makes it really interesting to me is the opportunity to connect and to help people in that process itself, because people take that like really to something important for them. Maybe it's going to be their home, maybe it's an investment too. I mean, it's the same to me. If it's an investment, then that too, it's like I'm just your agent. So yeah, it sounds really interesting. And yeah, you're right, I probably will be really good at it. I sold cars before. I only did it for 1 week. I was way more interested in being a paralegal than I was in being a car salesperson, but that like filled a gap. And I was the top salesperson of that week in my first week. And I wasn't trying to sell cars out there, right? I'm connecting with people. And and then people are like, they're walking up there because they want a car in the first place, right? You want a car? I want to show you some cars. Let's go check them out. Let's drive them around and see what you like, but there's no like high pressure about it. The guys in the office are like really high pressure. They taught me the term, and this is way back from when I was 20. They taught me the term, B-backs aren't greenbacks. You're not supposed to let a person walk off that lot without at least turning them over to one other person. But then what happened with me? No one walked off the lot. They all bought cars. Because if they saw me and they interacted with me and they wanted a car, they would just buy it from me. There's a shitload of cars to choose from there. It's like there's this energetic kind of like making it difficult. That's what I noticed with the salespeople. It's kind of like make it difficult on yourself, because when you look at a person, you see them as a dollar sign. You see them as money, and not trusting that money is coming. You go have fun with the people. Same thing with waitressing. People would like look at my like my credit card things that I would get when people would sign off and do the credit card. Someone would come in and like they'd have like a $5 bill, like they get a beer. That was back when beers were way less than they are now. and they tip me like $30 or something like that. People would be like, what the fuck? Right. And it's like, I'm just partying with the people. I'm not looking at them like they're dollar signs. Like the money's just let that work out. It's like the whole education, getting the education for real estate and all that, learning all this like kind of stuff. It's kind of like a means for these interactions. And it's like, I couldn't even help it. I was so inspired to do it. And I went through it so fast too. It was just so much fun. And you know, it's like, yeah, it's like a fire was definitely lit under my ass, because it seemed like I really need to make some more money. Otherwise, I'm not going to be able to whatever. And also on another note, I've mentioned this before, probably last week, just that idea that I need to go and make money, that is a delusional idea. And yet here I am playing it out, right? So this is, remember again, a projected sense that's playing out. This is a conditioned sense. So it's not to be mean to it for thinking that it needs to go out and make money. All the things that it plays out become forms for the Holy Spirit. That those things become the means for the Holy Spirit to do the teaching, right? And allowing the Holy Spirit to speak through me, even when I'm interacting with people for real estate transactions, for instance. And largely what that is noticing the tendency to get stressed out, worried, concerned, any of those things, because we are way more alert and aware and able to process information when we don't have those impediments, you know. And the way we're conditioned, it's to believe that the exact opposite of that is true. So when I worked as a paralegal, which I did for, I don't know, 7 years or something like that, I would get so stressed, you guys, because I did not want to screw anything up. I wanted everything to be perfect. So I would just get so stressed. And I went to my boss one day and I go, I just wish I could do this job without being so stressed. I just feel so stressed that I'm going to do something wrong. I'm going to mess something up. I feel so stressed about that. And he told me that was good that I feel stressed, because it keeps me from making mistakes. Right. And you know, it's like, I didn't make very many mistakes. It was pretty rare that I would make a mistake, apparently, in that job. But man, I was like paying so much attention to it, because it was like any little mistake in something like that, it makes it, you have to do a lot more work to make up for it. So there was a really hard time with that. So then I just stopped doing that job at some point, because it was just like so stressful to do that kind of job for me. And then the next thing I know, I go into another job and just keep on building the stress. After that, I was a kind of like a construction office manager. I was working with my husband. We started a business, and the same thing, just so much stress and thinking that I need that. And it's interesting, because the unwinding of it for me anyways, where I just had to stop working. It was like I couldn't handle it. And I was really like, felt like I just could not handle too much stuff, because I would just tend to get stressed out. So there's been this period where I just took a lot of time. I started Miracle Botanicals, then hired a bunch of people, and then got out of that for a while. I don't know how many years, maybe like 8 or 10 years. So quite a while, where just like getting the sense like I needed to be almost like rejuvenated after going through those stressful ass jobs. But you know, how many people would really allow that for themselves? You know, it was a lot to allow it for myself. I even had my partner seemingly disappointed in me, because I wasn't putting out in terms of production, you know. I wasn't, it's like what happened to my partner? My partner's just like I was putting out in terms of sex. That was good. That's something, right? Some people pay you for that. Don't say you got to work. Yeah. Gas, grass, or ass. No one rides for free. So, when my husband saw me laying around one day, and it was like maybe day 3 of laying around, third day of 10 years. He's made a comment to me, and I felt like I just didn't want to do anything. And like and even at that point, that was like 2011 or 12 or something. Even at that point, I had enough awareness to recognize that whatever he's saying to me, I taught him to say it. Right? Now, whatever he's saying, I taught him to say it. So he comes in, he's like, "Is that all you got for the day?" And I was like, "Yes, it is." I'm just gonna chill out. I'm just gonna chill out today, and I don't know how many days I need to do this. Right. And then I saw this shift in him. It's really a shift in me, but I'm perceiving it as if it's in him. I've seen this many times. And he just goes, "Oh, okay. Can I get you anything?" So it's me that sets the other party up to kind of like keep me in line. And that's what we're doing. That's why people, feel so victimized, because they feel like they have to keep on going. So I was not inspired to pick up any kind of career or anything like that for many years. And then all of a sudden it hit me. And it's funny, because it seemed to be that that it's a sense that we're going to run out of money unless I get a side job. It seems to be that there's that sense, but I know that it's all just converging right now. It's like it's the perfect time. It's like I'm rejuvenated. I'm energized. I feel like I could totally work without stressing out. I know what it feels like to stress out. It's, I know this sense that comes immediately in my ribs and tummy. I know what that feels like. I could take a step back from it. And just letting the inspiration and the energy that seems to be spurring this whole thing forward to just play out on its own. And I could just stay in a relaxed state of mind. So when I went in there, and it might sound kind of funny to you guys that I'm interviewing them and they're not interviewing me. That's because I'm hired. It's whether or not I want that. It's like, do I want their deal? If I want to take their deal, it's not even really like you're hired, because everyone's independent contractors. In fact, you pay them to get in there $250, and then you pay $95 a month because their training is ongoing, and you can like take that training and take off and go work anywhere. You don't have to stay there. The training seems like it's really good training too. So, when I go in there, it's not like I'm trying to impress anyone. Anyways, I don't do that on a job interview. The first one, it was like more like a job interview. And it's like, I was like, do not care if I get the job or not. Totally do not care if I get the job or not. I have no idea why I'm getting a real estate agent license, actually. Right. And the lady asked me, well, what do you want to do? And I'm like, I'm not sure. I was driven to get this license. And so I'm just going to kind of like see where I fit in, that I could make the most amount of money for the least amount of time. Basically, that's what I'll just see what it is. Right.
Were you driven or inspired?
Well, driven and inspired. Yeah. Because there's a certain drive that comes from the scarcity consciousness, right? And that's that's a sort of like this energy that's like, okay, there's a solution, go in that direction, right? There's a solution, go in that direction. The inspiration is for something else entirely, right? The inspiration, it's kind of, and it's like kind of like those things are like going side by side. And with the energy of awareness, you can jump on either one of those bandwagons too. Like I could notice that sense of this, it's like there's this drive forward that's just playing out all on its own. Right. And do I feel inspired toward it? Yes, I do. Otherwise, the drive forward wouldn't occur like that, right? It's not going to keep on going if it's some kind of, oh God, I gotta do this. But you see how a lot of people go that way, and you see how you could take it either way. And I've explored both ways, right? I've shared with you guys before how, noticing that I'm driven for this and then feeling victimized too. Oh, I have to do this too. That's just not allowing the inspired part of it to take over and take place. When the inspired aspect of it is taking over and taking place, then I'm happy to do everything that I seem to be doing. It's a joy to do everything that I seem to be doing. See? So, I say words like light a fire under your ass. You can kind of like get how that is, how being driven is. It's just like you're running in a direction, apparently in the scene, right? And you could say, when you get thirsty and then you're going for some water, you're driven. When you get hungry and you're going for some food, you're driven. It's like you're just, it's like this, and you is interesting too, because it's not really you, it's just an image. This image is being driven, let's put it that way. It's interesting because language, it might be easier if we start talking about ourselves in the third person. That might be a better, these separate senses of self in a third person. It might be. I've heard of people doing that before. Maybe it'd be easier to understand what we're talking about, because it is like this thing is projected into the field. And if that's meant to be, there will be inspiration for that. It's not something that anyone has to make themselves do. All right, Constance, you said you're interviewing them, Freudian slip. And I go, no. Yeah, I didn't even see that you wrote that before. Yeah. I've got that job. In fact, I have a job at a lot of different agencies. The first person that I talked to is a friend of mine who's also been my real estate agent. I said, hey, would you like to hire me? He said, hell no. Not in those exact words, but he was like, I do not want you. He's like, I'm too much independent. That's what he said. I'm too much independent. And another thing that I like about this one, it's called Keller Williams, is that it's all on my time. I told him I have an essential oil company, and they said, yeah, whenever you want to do it. Some agents are just doing it, just on the side. They're happy with a couple sales a month, and then that's fine. So whenever I want to do it, I'll just see. I tend to work a lot faster than people when I'm focusing on something. I tend to just like blow through stuff really fast. So who knows? I might just sell more than that in way less time, but I'll see once I get into it. Niall, I'm so grateful you share your journey raw and unfiltered. It inspires me tremendously. I love that you are not attached to any outcome. Magical. Well, yeah, that's actually, the joy in it is not being attached to any outcomes. That's really, that's like wonderful. It's really wonderful to go into an interview situation without being nervous about it. It's like people can tell what's going on, like with that. But there's plenty of agencies. In fact, this agency, they encourage me to talk to other agencies because, well, from what I've looked at, from what the employees say, the independent contractors, they're not really employees. What they say is that they make the most money at this agency and they get the best training. So I'm like, okay, all agents apparently pay the agencies money, because for one, you get an app, you get your own app, you get your own website, you get training, you get all these things. They help you do your business card. They do all these different things. So that's part of it. It's kind of like that when I sold cars too. I had to pay for something. I forgot what it was, but man, I made a lot of money that week. I would have stayed too, but I wanted to be a paralegal. Of course, they seem to be interviewing you, but I'm sure you are interviewing them just as much as they're interviewing you. Yeah, I was interviewing them completely. And they're, they're just trying to grow their real estate company. So at least the one that I talked to, it's like, man, you got a real estate agent and a pulse, or you got a real estate license and a pulse, you're in, right? And then it's like, let's see what you can do though, because you gotta learn stuff and want to sell stuff and kind of like meet the people and everything like that. You get the people to want to be with you. I don't know. I'll see how it goes. I'll let you guys know. I think the journey is incredible. You get so much insight from it. It's great. Ah, thank you, Jennifer. She says, I just love your pure, true honesty. Like it or not. Not Elle, you want to be more like Hope? That's awesome. Well, the thing is, you would love to be more like Nael. That's what I mean about the authenticity is just like allowing things to be however they are, and not trying to act some part that's not authentic for you, right? Because that's what's making people depressed, and that's what's making people feel victimized. This idea, you're getting an idea of how we're supposed to act, and we don't really have to play into that. There is no doing in the flow state. The dancer becomes the dance. To me, it feels like when you know when to jump in when playing jump rope. Yeah. You guys have probably played that double Dutch jump rope where you have to stand outside of it and kind of like time it and see where you fit in. And it's kind of like that with everything. It's like, I'm just going and checking it out to see where I fit in, right? And there's nothing wrong with saying you want to make a lot of money in a little bit of time. That's why I keep on saying it over and over again. So you guys know that there isn't anything wrong with saying what you apparently want too, right? There's nothing wrong with that. Whether or not that's going to be the manifestation only depends on whether it's maximally beneficial. It doesn't depend on whether you're a good manifester. It's only what's maximally beneficial. So, I could who knows? I could do all this stuff hypothetically, take all the classes, do all the things. And then it's like, shit, I cannot get a fucking deal. I just cannot get a deal. And I'm going to be like, hooray. Thank you. That just shows me how to see better, how to remember better, right? And even the things that I think I want coming to manifestation, I allow them to show me how to remember better by not getting attached to these manifestations, still not allowing the mind to just take off on these fantasy thoughts all the time. Right? Is like there's this almost like a sleepy, it's like, it reminds me of today when I went to that meeting where there was a security guard out front blocking the entrance. It's like in a like a little complex. Okay. It's like a 2-story thing. So there's a security guard out front blocking the entrance. And I arrived a little bit early. So I was sitting in my car and I'm just checking out the scene, and the security guard's asleep. He's just sitting there sleeping, sitting up, kind of like Kai Molino does in Wisdom Dialogues. And I'm just like, look, what's the security guard doing? You know, like, that's kind of like how we get with these thoughts. You know, it's kind of like you know, it's kind of like you're stationed to stand guard, to not let these thoughts come in and destroy your peace, right? So the security guard, this is Hawaii though, you know, security guard, he's sitting there sleeping. Anyone can walk in there with hammers or something. And so when you're doing the same, you know, you've basically fallen asleep, meaning you're just getting hooked onto any thought that comes by. And here's what it's like when you get hooked on a thought. It'll be like, oh, yesterday that person probably snubbed you, and then you're like thinking about that for 5 or 10 minutes, right? And you're feeling yourself, like, if you're paying attention, get real agitated. Okay, and that thought will hit a peak and it'll come down, and it won't be that interesting, and then another one, and there's no break. And what about this? And what about this? And what about this? And a lot of people are in denial because they're not aware that the mind is like this. That's just constantly talking. Well, what about this? What about this? What about this? I remember the first moment where I got some relief. It was probably like 2000, I don't know, 13, 12 or 13, where I really got some relief. It was really like, oh, wow. And, you know, there was just something on my mind that was bothering me. And I sat down for yoga and just didn't care about that thought. I just wanted to sit down for yoga and have some yoga. And I was like amazed at, oh, I could just choose that anytime. I could just choose that. I could just be free anytime. I don't have to be sitting down for yoga. You know, that was just the moment where I saw, because I loved doing yoga. And I loved that sense of not thinking, doing yoga, right? That I would get this no mind sense doing yoga. But in this instance, I was wrapped up and then got instant relief, right? I didn't have to stay wrapped up in it. That's what I mean. It's like you can just be the guard of your mind. You don't have to keep on pursuing these thoughts. You can take a break. Like, oh, just notice the relief that you can take a break and have a break right now. Nael says, right, I find myself to and fro on constantly correcting myself, trying to be kinder, but I'm not really feeling it though. I get a bit annoyed because I feel I'm not being authentic. I want to be more on my side. I want to be more on my side and be okay on my side, and be okay with, maybe you're saying you want to be more on the violent side. I know you like to punch people out from time to time. Yeah, you know, when you feel, when let's put it this way, when you're saying I get annoyed because I feel I'm not being authentic. When you feel annoyed because of not being authentic, check it right there, because you're only having a dream of not being authentic. And if you believe that you're annoyed because you're not being authentic, it makes it that much more difficult to see through. Okay, because it's like you're in a battle with yourself. It's like you shouldn't be getting annoyed, right? If annoyance is arising, you should be getting annoyed. Oh, I'm annoyed because I'm not being authentic. I'm so grateful that I have that signal. Right? I'm so grateful that I had that signal. It shows me and I'm not being authentic. And what if I'm annoyed? Is that okay? Yes, it is. I want to be more on my side and be okay. Yeah, I do like violence. Is that wrong? You're so funny.
Right, yeah.
You're really asking me that, Niall? I think you know better. I do like the fact that I'm not as reactive as I used to be because I sit with things. Good job. Yes, exactly. And you know, it's like it's kind of like it's a well of delusion. So it's like you keep on running into more and more of this delusion. Um I like violence. Is anything wrong with that? Well, of course not. And here's the thing about repressing the violence, it's just going to make you more violent. That's why they have boxing rings and stuff. You guys can just go in there and punch each other out, right? And I know you, Nael, you'll get ticked off on the street and just punch someone out too. I don't know if you still do that, but I know I've had some stories of you, heard some stories of you like that. And you know, it's like just bless it up. If you tend to be punching someone out, just bless that up. Nothing is really happening. And they need the perception that they're getting punched out. That's why that's occurring. Just look at this too. When you're punching someone out, you're really beating yourself up. So if you're aware of what's going on, that's what helps you to see through quicker, because the reason you want to get violent with someone is because you've already been violent with yourself. You keep on being violent with yourself and you're not aware of what's going on there. This unforgiveness for what another person seems to be doing is just mirroring the unforgiveness you have for yourself. So when the violence arises, I say, yes, definitely let it be what it is. Now, it does feel great in the moment. I know, because Tony shared it with me, because, you know, he tends to be conditioned very violent as well, although you can't really tell that anymore. But, you know, he's had experiences more recently where people have fully gotten up in his face. And he has just been amazed at how he didn't need to flatten them out, right? Sometimes it's like guys like you, you know, you're you know, that's like a skill, something that you're good at is fighting, right? So people don't even know who they're messing with, and then you guys can just like lay someone out, you know, they don't even know what's going on. And you know, people come up. Tony was telling me one story about someone who was threatening him, like was right in his face. And he just said, sorry, man, you're right. You know, it was something about Tony's driving, didn't like the way Tony was drove and parked or whatever. He's like, yeah, I hear you, you know, and just like, and just listen. And he told me he was just so amazed how good that felt. It just felt so good just to go into a place of peace and operate from a place of peace when the conditioning is, hey, you don't talk to me like that. You know, I'm a kickboxer or whatever you are. I don't like hurting innocent people though. Well, they're all innocent. So just other opponents. So, you know, the ones that you're painting as if they're not innocent, that's like a mirror image of the image you made of yourself. So it's like you made an image of yourself and it's like it's split off from everyone else. So then you're getting perceptions of people who don't have the innocence, right? Everyone's innocent. It's the same thing. Beating up a man is the exact same thing as beating up a child. There is really no difference. Okay. If someone seems like they're being mean or violent or whatever, they're asking for love. Okay. That's what they're asking for. And, you know, at the same time, if you do happen to punch them out, that was maximally beneficial for them. And that's even if it's a kid. I'm not saying you should go around hitting anyone. And I'm also not saying that it's wrong because it doesn't happen. You don't have a choice in it, is what I'm saying. But if you were to look at it like that, like, okay, it's the same. If I punch this guy out, it would be the same thing as punching a kid out. This is the same thing. This person is looking for love, and I'm going to give him violence instead, right? If you look at it not from a guilty perspective, though, that's not what I'm trying to say here at all. You know, I just said that even no one is guilty if they're punching out a kid. It's the same is what I'm saying. It's the same thing. It's not a guilty thing because nothing's happening. It's a manifestation of a guilty thought, which is meaningless. So for all forms of violence, whether you think you're just doing it to the guilty and not the innocent, okay, for all forms of violence, it's a matter of your willingness to see what is playing out, because you're hurting yourself. When you're willing to stop hurting yourself, and this is the rehab that everyone needs, rather than jail or something like that. I mean, of course, jail for them is also maximally beneficial. The rehab that everyone needs to stop with this violent bullshit is to get release from guilt. That could happen in prison too. But who knows? As each of us starts to see this, we may not have a need for things like prisons. Rehabilitation is becomes something completely different then, right? It's more like a mental, it's like a mental rehabilitation, a mental healing, really. Because everyone needs to see that there's nothing but innocence here. When everyone sees that there's nothing but innocence here, there won't be any violence. Adults, kids, whatever. I know there's this, what is it? It's like the anti-bully person. The one that's going to go around and fuck up all the people that are, that's how Tony is. You guys have so much in common. It's so cute. Right. And he's not so much like that anymore, but for all of our younger years together, that was pretty much his way. Right. But then he saw that, wow, there's so much more power in peace. And then even the drive to try to do something like that, it's not there. It's like, I'd rather be uplifted. I'd rather uplift my brother. I'd rather save my brother. You know, it's like we're all each other's savior. It's kind of like in the Bible when Cain asked God, "Am I my brother's keeper?" After he killed his brother. Am I my brother's keeper? Yes, you are. You sure are. But still, there's no guilt. There's no guilt about it, even killing your brother, killing whatever. People go to war, apparently kill a shitload of people. No one even goes to jail for that one. You know, and kill a shitload of people. I saw a sign on the high school. The biggest word, there was two words, I forgot what the first word was, but the biggest word that stood out to me was warfare. It's like there's all these signs on the high school fence. They're like high school things. And there's the military advertising, oh, special warfare. That's what it is. That's their advertisement. It's black. It's just like normalizing war. It's so funny. Like this, yeah. We'll tell you who to kill, and you kill those people. But if you kill anyone else, you're going to prison. You don't make the decision who you're going to kill. We tell you. You're trained in warfare. Now there's a career for you. That's some funny stuff. Aloha, Cynthia. Thank you for joining. You're such a love. Bully Hunter. Your dude was one of those too. Yeah, Constance. Going around punching people out. And I had quite an experience when I was probably like 22 years old. And I went out with Tony and we were at a bar for New Year's. I was sitting at the bar and there was another guy sitting right beside me. And apparently he liked me. He had his face close to mine. He was kind of like smelling me or something. And Tony goes, hey, you like my girl? And he goes, yeah, she's really nice. And then the next thing you know, Tony's arm goes like this, knocks me off my bar stool. I'm on the floor and punch him. I know. Look at Anne's eyes. I know, dude. Can you even imagine that? I was like, lost the shoe. I'm like completely beside myself. I'm crying loudly. I was like so not expecting that. I'm crying all the way home, screaming and crying. And I'm like, I don't want this. Yeah. You knocked me down.
That's the thing to know.
Yeah. So that kind of stuff was like kind of intense, but it really calmed down because for one, I'm not into it at all. I'm like, no, I don't want any of that. Like some people like that, like, oh yeah, I got a tough guy.
Maximum beneficial in some way, though.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. The moment itself, like with um the sense, I mean, for me, it was like I got to get away from this guy. I was like, I got to get away from him. Called my mom. My mom's like, it sounds like he took care of the situation, actually.
Oh,
Yeah.
boy.
Yeah, it was quite a scene. And then I didn't see anything like that again, thank goodness. I probably wouldn't have not stayed around. But I was like, okay, I'm still chilling. We're not doing that anymore.
Not that obvious.
Yeah, we're not doing that anymore. I'm working on sitting with things no matter what. I quit being violent with strangers. I walked away. Your teaching has really helped me. Yay. Maybe tell those dudes to donate. They're not getting a bloody nose like they would have. Yeah, tell them when they want to buy a house, buy or sell a house, refer them to me. They could be anywhere in the United States or Canada.
You'll fly there.
Yeah, I don't even think I have to.
Cool.
Yeah, just find them a local agent with the same agency. Yeah,
Share the-
right. So with that concept, I'm not okay then, because I enjoy beating someone up in the ring in a combat way. I enjoy it. I really like it. I want to be okay with it. Of course, be okay with it. Be okay with whatever you like, Niall. You want to go, you guys, you want to go get your yas out in ring, or, even be okay with if you happen to go off and hit someone on the street. You don't really have a choice in that. And see, the not being okay with it is what makes it repeat over and over again. You have to learn to be okay with it. Now, it would be a lot more difficult to be okay with, but it's still the same kind of challenge. Let's say you found yourself doing some kind of child abuse, right? Let's say you found yourself punching out a kid, right? Maybe it's your kid. Next thing you know, social services came over. Next thing you know, you seem to be going to jail and stuff like that. That may be a little bit more of a challenge because of the apparent circumstances and seeming like you've done something really bad, and people are going to act like you've done something really bad. Whereas if you beat up someone that, like, let's say a man who has been molesting kids or something like that, then you're going to be looked at like you're really good, right? So it's not going to be as difficult. But look, that's the really, like, if you find yourself in a situation like that where you seem to have done something like really bad, that is a huge opportunity. Like, don't let that opportunity pass you by if you can. I know it's kind of like, seems like it's asking a lot, but you would be given that power in the moment if you'd be willing to accept it. And that's really a good lesson for all of us, because we get the perception that we have done something wrong all the time. I use extreme examples, punching out a kid, for instance, but this is what does occur, right? This is what does occur. You see this going, and it's not like those people that do find themselves doing those kinds of things are not also just as worthy of salvation as anyone else, right? We're still just having a dream. right? So with this occurring, and maybe someone who's listening to me right now has this in their memory, or maybe it's even real fresh about them having done something that they're just totally feeling like they're ashamed of. That shame isn't coming from the seeming doing of the thing, really. That shame is existential shame that you're projecting onto yourself, and it's causing these manifestations. So those give you a really good opportunity. Also, it's a really big opportunity to say, let's say you're the parent of the child that got injured, got apparently injured. I've seen people do this where they will completely go and tell that the person who did it, you didn't do anything, you are completely forgiven. That's how we heal these things. Do we want to heal them, or do we want to point out who's wrong and what's wrong? Or do we want to know the difference between right and wrong, or do we just want to live in eternity? See, that's what the symbolism of Adam and Eve eating that apple is all about. That's what that symbolism is. It's like you take the bite of the tree of a tree of knowledge, and all of a sudden you think you know the difference between good and evil. And because of that, you're getting more and more illusions. That's what we're playing out here. And at some point, the whole world is going to listen to this. Not necessarily this mouth right here, but the whole world is going to listen to this and know what this is. Everyone's going to wake up to this. And who knows, it's a matter of time. It could be close. It could be a really long way off. But with you, for within your consciousness, what's in your domain, you're completely in charge of that. You're going to choose to be released from this at some point. And that could be today. You never know. That could be today. What I notice in my process is just coming more and more aware. I've been saying it for a while and aware of it for a while, but just coming more and more aware so that it becomes my experience that no one's doing anything here, including myself. No one's actually doing anything in here. And everything that we seem to be doing, it's already been done. Mahalo, Amanda. Thank you for joining. So it only seems like we're doing something new. We're not. Okay. Yes. So much power and peace regarding combat. I feel it's so hard to change. It's so much of who I am. It's exhausting to be against myself. I know what you mean. And you don't have to be against yourself. Just don't let that stuff don't let that idea, like that image of you needing to be a fighter, don't let that make you guilty. That's where you're choosing to make you're asking if it's okay. You've already made yourself guilty. See, there's not the confidence isn't there yet. That's it, that of course it's okay because it's not happening. See? I am grateful for you too. Thank you, Niall. I appreciate you. We're all playing games. We just let our games be light, right? Don't be afraid to say what it is you seem to want. One of the games people like to play, we got a really good teaching on that at Ning's. Me, Chaitan, and Kai Molino, we're at Ning's, and a friend came by, and it was really playful. He just came up and he pulled his chair up right at our table. I'm like, oh, he's just pulling a chair up at our table. Next thing you know, he's eating some of Chaitan's food. He knows me, but he knows me from before. He was at my big party that I had in 2018 before that thing, or 2017 Thanksgiving before that one went under the lava. We had like 250 people there though. It was huge. And he recognized me and came up and just started sitting there and talking. And he said, oh, I got to go to the car and get this thing. And I go, oh, well, we're about to leave. And he's like, oh, well, you can stay and wait for this thing to come. And, I noticed a couple things that he said. One of them was he put this picture frame in front of me, and I touched it and I go, oh, it's dirty. And he's like, no, it's lava. I'm like, it's dirty. That's what I'm saying. The thing is, and he said something about negativity. And you know, as soon as I catch something like that, I know the game. Okay, I know the game that's going on here. This is the game. It's like, you're supposed to be this. You know, people get the impression, especially in a spiritual community, and especially if you seem to be in a role as a spiritual teacher. So people like to play these kinds of games with you, you know. So then I'm like, oh, okay, I see the game. And then I go, oh, I'm leaving. I got up and I left, right? I was done. I got up and left. And my friends, Chaitin and Kai Melina, they seemed like they were in this vortex, kind of like in this vortex, right? And I find out later from Kai Molino, you know, he told Kai Molino and Chaitin, it's okay, hope is patient, right? Like, as a way to keep him there. And then finally, I think it was Chaitin, Chaitin was just like, yeah, we're actually leaving now. But it's like, there's this play where people try to corner your energy. I know you guys have had this, everyone's had this occur, where someone's trying to corner your energy. And, you know, to me, that's just kind of fun, because it's kind of like, I'm out of here. You go stay at that corner, cornering all you want. Oh yeah, I'm going out the door. I'm okay. I'm going out the door. I do not mind being seen as negative. I do not mind being seen as judgmental, impatient, anything like that. You know, it's like when I see that game come up, basically what a person is doing, and they don't necessarily know they're even doing it. A lot of people are so unconscious about what is going on, they don't even realize that it's not like he's like malicious going, ha ha ha, how can I corner Hope Johnson tonight? You know, it's like, and who knows, maybe that is the case. He might be walking out with his cane out to the car, look, I'm going to corner Hope Johnson tonight. But it doesn't really matter, right? It's just that it's a game, in that it's an opportunity to show demonstrate that you're freedom, that you are free. And, you know, I'm on my way out, I gave him a hug too. You know, it's not like I was just like, fuck you, I'm out of here. I'm just done. I'm just done with this situation. So the guys end up coming out a little bit later, and, you know, anything like that, use it. Just watch how the tendency is, because it's to make you feel like, if you were to leave that situation, if you were to excuse yourself, you're less whatever. In this case, it seemed like you'd be less spiritual, right? If you were to you know, no, I'm done with this. And, you know, for me and for everyone, really, the release in it is your willingness to be seen as whatever they need to see you as. Because the more you try to people please, the more you get used. People like to possess people, and it takes someone who wants to be possessed to play that kind of game. Like, no, actually, I'm fine as I am. You know, a lot of people try to be friends with me on Facebook that I'm not interested in being friends with on Facebook. And they might ask me, why aren't you friends with me on Facebook? I'm not interested in being friends with you on Facebook. And then, like, that's the end of the story. There's not a big story about it. I'm not interested in being friends with you on Facebook. I'm fine without being friends with you on Facebook. Right. And it's not like it's a mean thing. It's just, that's the truth of it. Not everyone is meant for interacting with me. I know the ones that are meant for interacting with me. They light right up for me. Even their names on Facebook, they light right up for me. A lot of people tend to go for being alone rather than try to relate with people, because relating can be so difficult. And that's because of these ways that we play these ways of, this fear of being possessed by another person. That's the game I've played a lot. That's why I was like, okay, I just have to get my own career. I got to get my own thing. I do not want to be possessed by a man. That's always the way I saw it. Like it'd be like there's a man and he's possessing his wife and he tells her what to do. And she's kind of like subservient because he's got the money, that kind of vibe. Yeah, it's yucky. I know. Anne's got the face going.
Makes me think of Beaver Cleaver.
Beaver Cleaver, the Cleavers. Yeah. Yeah. And that's some people fall right into that and they're like, okay, this is all I want to do. Great. That's fine. I saw that and I was like, no way, that is so not for me, just like afraid of that. The thing is, no one has to be possessing in a relationship. Friendships do the same thing. People do the same thing in friendships. It's like, that's why, some saints and stuff, you'll ask them, hey, how do you stay so calm and peaceful? And it's like, I stay away from people. Right? You got to start, and that's a mastery in itself. That's why I went through it so hard when I was having all these spiritual awakenings and I'm living in a house close to a bunch of people, right? And they seem to be on a completely different wave as me too. Like they're not even on the same vibes, right? And it's like, how do you do this with all these relationships going? It's so crazy. Not even just the ones in your household. Then you got business relationships, you got your parents, you got all these different relationships going. And it's like in these relationships, you're playing all these different roles. Right. So I realized, okay, all these roles that these people are playing for me are really blessed. Like, okay, I need to see these as a blessing. And that's why I would sit in my room by myself. I just go to my room and close my door and lock my door and sit there and cry by myself. Because if I didn't, I was going to be lashing out at people. Basically, you might call that making more karma with them. Because the more we lash out on them, the more we put this thing into motion. And I knew that. So that's why I had to go and sit alone in my room and cry. But whenever I come out of my room, there's like people everywhere. And at that time, usually young kids too. And even the young kids they play a role. Like you have some kind of obligation or something like that. But it's not like that at all. It's just all playful. We're just playing. It's like we're playing in a field. Or you could say we're playing on a playground. We are in the soup, Margaret says. I feel that then no way. Yes, do the crying on my own and feel it before I see others. Same thing here. Yeah, I have had people ask me why, when I was going through all this, whenever I would go out in my community, you couldn't tell. I was happy as fucking can be whenever I'd be out in the community. Why do I only see you happy? And I go, because when I'm not happy, I don't go out. I stay at home. I don't have anything to share with you if I'm not happy. What am I going to be doing not happy? I'm going to be sucking energy from my community. I mean, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. People think that they need to do that. It's not good for them. It's not really helpful. It's like stealing. It's like you have to pay that back. Any kind of good feeling you got from acting all needy and getting someone to do an obligatory helpfulness with you, like they gave you what you thought you needed or whatever it was. It's like that has to be paid back because you were trying to take, right? And that's fine. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with it. I go out to the community all the time and I see people like that. Apparently, you know what? I just love them up. I don't try to tell them they should do it like I do. I just love them up. That's what I'm for. That's what I am in the community for, right? I'm not in the community to be the one that's sad. Well, if I feel sad, I'll stay home with it. I know how to access the Holy Spirit so I can get my relief from within, right? Until people are able to do that, they're going to go out in the community all, Hey, Hope, how are you? Oh, things suck, man. I don't even know how to do it. I need something. Do you have something that I could use? Thank you, Lay. I appreciate you. Thank you for joining Wisdom Dialogues too. You just signed up today. How fun. Maybe you'll join me more often. It's a blast. Yeah, you can feel free to ask me any questions right here. If you're on Zoom, you know, she joined me on Zoom today. Ask me any questions on Zoom, on the chat, on the Q&A. You can even raise your hand if you want to talk to me. By the way, hopejohnson.org is back. You been on it? You been on it, Carmelino? Okay. Oh, that's hopejohnson.com. I said hopejohnson.org. Let's see. Does it go there? Oh, yeah. Okay, it works. Well, not that good. There's a big old banner. It says, discover the book that will awaken the truth in you. And then you can't fucking click it.
No.
You can scroll down and get there though. Still, that's supposed to be clickable. You can get clarity and release sessions with me, one-on-one clarity and release sessions. You can get to Miracle Botanicals. You can register for Wisdom Dialogues, and you can go to the Wisdom Dialogues tab and find the recordings that I put up. I got recordings, and I've got also YouTube videos on there, and I've got a blog, and I'm just going to be building it out some more whenever I feel inspired to. I'll make some more blogs. I haven't blogged on here since like 2022. That was only a year, not bad. There was just one in 2022. I'll probably get some more now that I've got it over to Shopify. We're partying with that. Yeah. I seem to be doing a lot of different things now all of a sudden. It used to be like when I had Wisdom Dialogues, I would be super chilled out. I would not be doing a bunch of different things. Now things are a lot different than they have ever been. And I've got 3 Wisdom Dialogues a week now. One of them is today, Monday. Another one is Wednesday, 3 to 5 in Seaview. If you're local, you can come to Seaview. And the other one is Friday from 3 to 5 at Cinderland. So I'm having a blast. There's all kinds of things going on. Apparently I'm busy like every single day. This is totally different for me. But I'm still in the same way, relaxing within the illusion, within this dream, kind of like relaxing back to the source of what I am and seeing things from that perspective. So I feel very much energized that I'm ready for this now. Don't need to be in a total like incubator like I have been for many years, and coming back into the community, society, workforce, plus 3 Wisdom Dialogues a week. And I'm super happy to be sharing with you guys that much. That's really fun. I'm going to try to get the recordings up. I haven't been the best at getting all of the recordings up. And then once I get to the next one, I'm like, okay, those ones are in the past. We'll just go forward from here. I did just post Fridays, and those will be on the recordings. You guys can listen as much as you want. I know some of my friends tell me the more they listen, the deeper they go. So if that resonates with you and you like the way I deliver it, listen a lot. I encourage you to listen a lot, because you know, the feedback that I get from my friends, it might take time, and that's just because of stubbornness. But to keep on hearing it over and over again, this perspective is this perspective that I get from listening to the Holy Spirit. And this is something that can help you to find your way to where you can be in touch with the Holy Spirit on your own and be listening on your own all the time. You know, that doesn't mean you're not going to still be listening to me because it's entertaining for you. Maybe it helps you even go deeper. But that's really the goal. Besides uplifting you right now in the moment, besides reminding you of your innocence and the truth of who you are and of your invulnerability to this lack of love that you seem to perceive in this imaginary world. Besides that, the goal of it is ultimately getting you into really close contact with your inner guide, the inner guide that we all share, which is the Holy Spirit, so that you can hear directly from the Holy Spirit. And then you'll never have to ask a question like, is this okay? Like, is this okay that I'm like this? Because the Holy Spirit will always tell you right away. And a lot of the times what the Holy Spirit tells you may be a complete shock. So it's like, would you believe it? Would you believe in that degree, let's say, of innocence, that it can't even be disrupted? It can't even be interrupted, right? Just like your eternal life, that hasn't been interrupted. This is a seeming thing that's occurring, but your eternal life, that's still intact, right? So returning is really a matter of remembering, and remembering is the effect of willingness to see. Okay, willingness to see things differently than the way you're projecting them out. So go to anything. I know, people automatically will think of something when I say, what is it that's triggering? Automatically something pops up, because there's always some triggering stuff, unless you want to be in denial, you have free will like that. You could totally just deny. You can totally just pretend like, yeah, I'm not getting any triggers, right? I'm not getting any triggers. Now that's the life. It's a bunch of triggers. It's a series of triggers. And then there's some joy in between. But the more you see what your triggers are for, they become a joy, and your whole life becomes a joy. And then you don't even have to like have a bad day and stay home, let's say, right? Like those kinds of those kinds of senses, like a feeling like, oh, like feeling down on myself. It's so short-lived now and so obvious to me. It just becomes more and more obvious that it's not true. It's a pattern playing out. It gets shorter and more obvious that this is a pattern. It's playing itself out. It's burning itself out. It's what it has to do. So you let these patterns arise and take you for your little ride that you're used to going on, this, self-depreciation, depression, all that kind of stuff. You let it arise. You let it go on this little ride that it's doing, and you have this presence that's just allowing it to play out and kind of like run its course in your mind. The more you just allow it to run it, it's like it's running this thing, but it takes you being willing to not go pursuing the thoughts that hold it up. So it needs thoughts to hold it up. So if you're feeling depressed, that means you've been chasing a thought, a depressive thought, which is necessary to hold up that feeling. Okay. So when you recognize that that's what's going on, you're automatically going to start wanting to come back to yourself and just that raw feeling of whatever it is, depression or anything like that, with gratitude. And that's how everything starts to reveal itself. Everything calms down, gets shorter. This is a process that can take years. And you know what? Sometimes there's just like a really sudden shift. I notice that sometimes people will just hear something a certain way, and it's like, oh, you mean I don't have to do that to myself? Yeah, I'm saying that you have a choice right there whether you want to do that to yourself, whether you want to ask if it's okay that you kick someone's ass, right? Whether you want to do that to yourself. It's not these kinds of questions aren't valid if it's trying to evaluate You evaluate your actions, evaluate your worthiness, any of this. It's just not going anywhere you want to go. It's just going to more and more depression. It's going to more and more anxiety. And notice the older people get as they're going along this way, the more they become upset, crotchety. You heard of crotchety old people? People tell me my friends seem so young. I've got friends that are in their 70s, right? Even my kids have friends that are in their 70s, and my kids are like, they're in their 70s? I thought they were in their 50s or something. No, I'm in my 50s. they're in their 70s. And you know, the youthfulness, it's not like he's going, they look so young. They have a whole vibe of being young. They just have a vibe of it. They can laugh. They're easygoing, right? And that's because of their devotion. They're not going to be, you know, the older you get, if you're fucking caught up in the world and you don't have some devotion, something that's true, you're going to get more and more, you become a dick, basically. I've witnessed it. I've witnessed it occur. I've seen people even come here to Pune in their 20s or something, late 20s, early 30s. Like, yeah, I'm free. No, well, no. And then they're only, yeah, they're 70 in their mind. Good call. And then they're only in their 30s and they got crotchety already. They're offended by everything, right? They're looking for something to be wrong all the time. It's like you can't even hang out with them anymore. What happened to the kid that you were in your 20s? What happened to that? You know, it's like the people get old really, really young. It's an aged way of being. Be complaining about people. Okay, let me check what's going on Facebook. Constance. The coolest part that I realize is that the Holy Spirit is available always, always. Yeah, exactly. That's why I don't have to think about what I'm going to say to you guys at Wisdom Dialogue. I just listen. It's 100% about my willingness to see things differently. Yes. If things appear to not be working for me, I know I must be confused. Yeah, because everything is working together for good, right? So you have to be confused no matter what. That's why I give the example of, what if I go out to try to be a highfalutin real estate agent and I just like fall flat on my face? You know, I'm going to come up with a busted tooth and a smile. Because I know I always get what I need. You're fun to me too, Constance. Constance says she enjoys my style. I'm fun to her. Well, that's great. That's great. If you're all also getting the insights that serve you and it's fun for you, that's a really good combination. That's a really great reason for us to keep on coming together. And it definitely inspires me to keep on doing Wisdom Dialogues. That's why I'm doing it 3 times a week now. I hear the feedback from you guys. I don't give a shit. I actually don't feel like I need Wisdom Dialogues. I think it's fun. I think it's a good ass time. I'm going to be just as devoted no matter what. But I hear from you guys that it helps you. Of course, there's, different voices going on too, but I'm just listening to the ones that are really like feeling like, hey, Hope, this is like hitting in a way that is meaningful, and I'm able to see through my patterns, and I'm able to see what you mean about falling into this joy, this bliss, almost like this river of deep comfort and understanding. I'm really grateful to be able to share that with you, because it's the greatest treasure, and I know that through our joining together, we're awakening the whole world. Basically, we're saving the world. So it's a really big, important mission, and not something to get concerned about at all. Because it's just flowing. It's just flowing. All right. I love you guys so much. Go visit hopejohnson.org. I'm getting it to be even more bitchin'. I'm probably going to put some more things up there, like some services that I could do. And once I'm a real estate agent, I'll give you guys a link to that. And if you're in another state and you want a good real estate agent, ask me. I may not be in your state. I can work on the Big Island of Hawaii starting tomorrow, provided that I pass that test, which I think I'm going to, because I took, like, I don't know, 10 practice tests so far, and I never flunked any of them. I'm scoring pretty high. I'm pretty, like, seem to be in the clear here. So tomorrow it's happening. In case you didn't know, it was going to occur on Thursday last week. But the time that they told me to be there was actually an hour after I was supposed to be there. So it's rescheduled. Yay, everyone. Thank you so much. I'll be back for my Monday one next week. And if you want to join me, thank you, Natalie. I love you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Such a joy. It's our natural inheritance. Yes, it is, Constance. Hooray for that. All right, everyone. Mahalo, aloha, and a hui ho. Thank you, Jennifer. Aw, thanks.